What you are looking at is not the Gundam The Origin high-grade 1144 Char Zaku 2, because this is the high-grade Gundam The Origin 1144 Zaku 2. Oh, you can hardly see it? Yeah, he's just chilling all the way down there. So normally, when it comes to Transformers, the world of oversized knockoffs is a pretty normal thing. However, in the world of Gundam and Gunpla, for me anyway, it's almost unheard of. So when I was alerted to the presence and existence of a KO upscale of one of my very first and very favorite high-grade kits, I had to jump on it immediately. And this is the bootleg, not one 144, not even 100. I think it's like 172, if I'm not mistaken. It's not quite 160 either. The exact name of this product, as well as the exact scale, is in the title of the video. I think it's 172. There's not a lot of other Gundam toys in this kind of scale, so it's kind of existing in its own realm. But yeah, this is an oversized knockoff of the Origin Char Zaku 2. And as you can see from this very pathetic size comparison, given how tiny the original one is, yeah, it's pretty oversized. And it's a pretty faithful upscale of the original one as well. I actually had to build it without any instructions. I didn't get any instructions on how to build that. I did not receive any. And I could not find any online either. If there exists any online, great. I missed them. But as you can see, I was able to build it no problem, because the Origin Zaku mold is my all-time favorite high-grade Gunpla kit. I have built it in almost every way it has ever been released, and I still have Egbas I haven't built, and I still have like Egba's unit. I didn't get all of them. I got like a couple of them. Haven't built those yet either. Like, I've built this kit so many times I can build it without instructions. And thankfully, some of the changes they made to this guy made it easier to build without instructions, but there are also some changes made to the assembly that were quite surprising, and others that left me kind of confused, and others that left me a little irritated. So I really want to go over like a lot of the engineering changes, because they changed a lot of the engineering. The runners, I obviously don't have them to show because I've already snipped them all out and built it. But the runners are configured entirely differently than the original Gundam The Origin one. It's not like they just took the mold and upscaled it. They did actually make quite a few changes to this model kit, and it's quite surprising. Overall, I would say the plastic quality is pretty good. I wouldn't say it's fantastic. It's definitely not Bandai level, but it's pretty close. A lot of the pegs do struggle to fully pop in, and some of the joints are very tight. If you know some model kits where you have to like use all of your force to like push a peg into a hole, this is one of those model kits. And there's a couple places where I just could not get it flush. I could not get it to fully push in. So please forgive me if you see any seam lines that are very garish. Keep in mind, this is a bootleg. So it's not going to be perfect. It's not, because it's fake. So when it comes to accessories, it pretty much comes with all of the same accessories. You get the big anti-ship rifle, and you can see now it is absolutely gigantic. Pretty much all the sculpted detailing is retained on the anti-ship rifle, but they did actually make a change when it came to the scope. The original one used metallic stickers, and what they did with this bootleg, they actually had a little runner with clear pink pieces. And that little shine you see right there is me just using a little bit of silver paint just to kind of make it pop. I did not really do anything to this kit other than just add a little bit of silver in places I knew it would be very difficult to add later. So that's pretty much all I did for this video. I think I'm going to go back and do a little bit more detailing, maybe put on some of the stickers or actually water slides, and I will show how those look. But overall, very similar construction as well, just has that difference in the scope. Very similar story for the bazooka as well. I have the bazooka mounted on the backs of both of them. They still have the same kind of like big old magazine component. They both have the scope that can move. They both have the clip where it clips onto the back. They both have the little extra handle. Parts-wise, they're pretty much identical. The new one does have pegs for the weapons to go into the hand, and I think those are very nice and appreciated. But again, you can see the difference with the scope, where it's a metallic sticker on the original one, and it's a clear piece on the new one. So it also has the little magazines right there. For the Heat Hawk, you still get 2 heat hawks, but I think only get like 2 extended heat hawks. They're both absolutely identical. I don't think there's any difference between them. I have the other one right here. Yeah, you only get 2 extended heat hawks. And it is kind of different where it's not just like one piece. There is actually like a different piece. And you can kind of see the seam line right there where that piece goes in. And also the little tip of it is a separate piece as well. I did want to show, he doesn't hold it too great, but that's pretty faithful to the original mold, huh? It didn't really hold it too great. If you can, like you can see right now, it's holding it pretty well, but it's kind of at an angle. If you straighten it, it's just going to droop again. You do get the same amount of hands, so you get gripped hands, you get a right trigger finger hand, and you get a left open hand. You do also have I'll show it later, the option where you have the head without the command fin. You do get that option as well. Overall, there's a lot of similarities and a lot of differences. Kind of going from the head down, let's kind of go over that first. So with the head on this KO upscale, you might notice it actually has a clear piece of plastic in front of the mono eye, and that it does. So that's one difference right there. Also, the mono eye rail piece is actually nicely sculpted with a lot of detail and does have a place where you can actually put that clear piece for the mono eye. The hoses on the head are actually 2 pieces sandwiched together, so if you hate that seam line, sorry to break it to you, but there is a big seam right there. Other than that, the assembly is pretty much identical. One thing I do have to say, though, when you move the head around too much, it just easily pops off. But it does kind of make it easy to use the slide gimmick. I did just make the vents in the mouth silver for now. I might go back and make those like gunmetal gray or something. It is kind of difficult to slide it, but once you get it slid, you can see it has a pretty good range on the mono eye, but it is kind of stiff, kind of difficult. Might be something where I'll disassemble the head a little bit and sand that down. We'll kind of have it off to the side just for a little bit. It does have a very similar neck joint as well, where it's like 2 pieces together. But you can see it, it pops on, but it doesn't really like pop on. It just kind of squishes on. And when you start articulating the head, it comes off, at least on my copy. So that's pretty much what's different between the head. Spinning the figure around, you can see on the back, the jetpack is pretty similar. It does have a new piece with some color separation for gray right there, and it still has the same thrusters right there. But funny enough, I found this very amusing. They saw the little holes on the bottom where like for the Origin Zaku mold, you can like attach that, like the magazine like belt. You can attach the belt for like the certain kind of machine gun. They saw those little holes and they just put extra little thrusters down there. You don't have to have those on, but there are actually little extra thrusters down there, so that's kind of funny. That's pretty much the only difference with the backpack. The main torso assembly is pretty much identical to the original one, but you do have little added Vulcan pieces for a little bit of extra detail, and you do get extras of those as well, which I really appreciate in case you drop one. You do also retain the optional parts for the chest if you don't want the Vulcans, but for me, if it's Origin Char, I love those Vulcans. It's just so cool. So one thing you may notice on the torso is that he actually has, very frustratingly, little individual beads, kind of similar to the Master Grade. And it's not assembled like the Master Grade, where it's very easy to just snip them all out and they're still kind of on a pole, and you can just slide them onto the pole they need to be. No, you got to cut all of them out, and each one has 2 gate marks. It's pretty easy to clean them. As you can see, there's not very obvious gate marks on any of these. But considering the fact that I did not get instructions, it was very difficult for me to ascertain the amount of little hose things I needed for not only the torso, but also the legs. Also figuring out which metal spring needed to go where. There's like a plastic piece with a metal spring over it, and then the hoses over it. There are like these bent pieces, you might notice, like back there's a bent piece. Again, I didn't have instructions, so I didn't know exactly where to put those bent pieces. So I just kind of put them like one's right there where I feel like there's a natural bend and it benefits it. But I'm not sure if that's right, but I'm not going to worry about it. And besides, if I do have to correct it, it's not too hard to go back. So moving up to the arms again, you can see they're pretty similar when it comes to like the articulation and everything. They articulate pretty much identically. The shoulders pretty much attached the same. It does have a separate spike right there now. I'm pretty sure on the original, wasn't there a seam down it? Yeah, there's a seam down the spike, but now there's a separate spike right there. Pretty much the rest of the arm assembly is almost exactly the same. But you do, instead of having the seam moving all the way down the arm, you do get an extra cuff piece that breaks up that seam and kind of like goes around the hand. You might notice some scuffs in the plastic. This wasn't packaged the best. It still was in plastic baggies, but it wasn't as nicely packed as Bandai kits. Sometimes Bandai kits get little scratches on them where the plastic hits each other, but this guy has quite a few spots where there's some scratches. Keep in mind, I didn't do anything to this kit out of the box. I pretty much just added a little bit of silver, and that's pretty much it. Again, you can see it has pretty similar hand options. But one thing you can see, it has some hollowness in the fingers now. That might be pretty frustrating for some collectors, but for me, it's not that big of a deal. I'm more of a toy guy than a model guy, so I'm not looking for this to be perfect. I got this for the novelty of, oh, it's my favorite model kit, but now huge. So that's pretty much why I got it. Overall, the hands are pretty similar when it comes to their assemblies. The waist, I'm pretty sure, is identical. You do get like big old ball joint pieces for the side skirts. You do also have the same port in the back, as well as a clip for the heat hawk, as well as that panel right there that can go down for storage of a weapon. Overall, that seems pretty much the same. It also has the same kind of drop down joints. The legs, at least from the thighs, I noticed, seem to be exactly the same. Like the thighs down to the knees also has that same kind of inner frame thing. But down here at the legs, it seems a bit different. Because I'm pretty sure on the Origin mold... No, for whatever reason, I always thought the Origin mold had like a front piece, but I think I'm just confusing it for another. It's pretty similar with the leg construction overall. The feet assemble pretty much the same. You can notice this foot panel doesn't like staying on. That's annoying. You can see the feet panels are kind of coming off. That is one mild difference. There's like an added foot panel, and it doesn't really stay on too well, so do keep that in mind. There are added color separation pieces for the gray right there, so I think that's kind of neat. And again, there's springs, and I used, I think, 11 little pieces on the leg springs, but do keep in mind they're attached very similarly to the Master Grade, so they can spring out, and I actually lost some of these, but I feel like they give you extras. I had enough to lose, and I still have like 1 or 2 extra, so keep that in mind, I guess, question mark. Like, is it coming undone, like, on the video? No, I don't think so. I hope it doesn't. That would be horrible, because it seriously, like, sprung and, like, shot several out, and I had to go on my floor and look. That was very annoying. But overall, it has a lot of very similar engineering, but some different stuff. And I really do appreciate some of the differences they made. The joints are very solid, and in some places a little too solid. Like you saw with the head, like it moves pretty tight, and it like removes itself after a while. The shoulders move pretty much about the same as the original. You still have like the same joints for the for the shoulders and all that. I do feel like it's kind of stopping at a point right there, though. I don't know if it's just like my misassembly or what, but I feel like doesn't move up all the way on this side. No, it also stops at a very similar point. I feel like the original didn't do that. So I think that's just a weird problem. This shoulder pad moves about the same, also pretty similar assembly. Also has bicep swivel, elbow, still kind of has that butterfly joint. Even though the butterfly for like the torso armor doesn't really work as well on this version as it did on the Origin one. It still has a ball joint at the wrist. Still has kind of like the ab joint and the ball joint at the waist. The hips are kind of more difficult to move around because like the armor, I feel like, doesn't get out of the way as much. It does kind of like still flex with everything else. Like it still has the front skirts and the side skirts. But I don't really feel like you can use it to its full potential because I feel like the side skirts are kind of limiting it. I don't know. I don't feel comfortable moving the legs any further up than that, at least not at this point. The knees, again, it does have the hoses. So this first knee bend moves very nice. You can't see like that little seam line right there. It's not fully in. That knee moves very nice, but this knee joint is super duper tight for no reason. There's no polycap involved. It's just like the plastic rod going into the slot. It's the same construction as the proper Origin one. So if you're like me and do not get the instructions to this, you can use, like, if you have the original Origin kit, you can use that as a reference. But I would challenge yourself. I would try to build this guy without instructions. But this other knee joint is stupid tight. Like, I do not feel comfortable moving it. I'm worried I'm going to break him. So I would be very cautious with that. I really hope that does not break at some point. But it does have the same range as the original. But just keep in mind, heed my warning, I don't feel super comfortable with that joint. Going down to the foot here, it's pretty much the same articulation. You get that pivot, you get the up. You do have the toe joint still, even though it is kind of a pain to build that mechanism for like the toe hinge. It's kind of a pain to build that, but you can see it is there. You can see also that panel keeps coming out. It's definitely a pretty good kit. It's pretty good. It's pretty fun. I genuinely enjoy my time with it and enjoyed my time building it. I watched Gordon Ramsay Kitchen Nightmares while I worked on it. But it's definitely not for everybody. That is for sure. Let me go over the accessories real quick. Some of the other things I haven't talked about. So obviously he also has, you know, the extra heat hawk and the hand. But I have this baggie here of other things he came with. So let's go through this. So first of all, these are the water slides. They're kind of faint because they're all white on white. But you can see there's like Xeon logos. There's like white stripes. Pretty typical of what we saw with the original one. I might put those on at some point, but I'm not worried about it right now. We do have in here the optional torso pieces without the Vulcans. So we do have those. We do have, oddly enough, the base adapter is still in here, but I really cannot tell you what kind of base would work with this guy. I genuinely cannot. We still have the other gripping hand in here. We have the head with the without the command fin, if you'd rather have him with that look. We do have an extra magazine. I accidentally left a little piece of plastic in there, so it rattles, which is fun. Then what's left in here, we have an extra clip for the heat hawk. We have there's only one extra little thing of the loop. We have the little extra Vulcan pieces. And then we have these tubes. No idea what those are for, but they're there. Genuinely cannot tell you their purpose. And then that piece that was just in one of the bags. I have no idea what purpose it serves, but I got it. And with that, that's almost done. I just want to do a few more size comparisons just to kind of give you guys an idea of how this thing scales with some other toys. Alright, so the obvious comparison, here it is again with the original HG-1144 Origin Zaku. This was one of the very first Gunpla I ever built, so it's a little rickety, it's a little old now, but I still absolutely love it. And I'm sure many 1/100 collectors are very curious how this would scale. The answer is it would not. Here it is with the Master Grade Char Zaku. You can see it's definitely in between like a perfect grade and a master grade. I think 172 was the number. It says it in the title. If I'm right, I'm right. If I'm not, you can see that I'm not. Let me grab a few other things to kind of give you a size comparison of. Here it is with a 6-inch and 3 3/4-inch Star Wars action figure. So you can see it with TVC Hunter and Black Series 5s. So you can see, yeah, if you want like a Gundam that looks a little bit kind of big in comparison to your other toys, this isn't a bad option. Here it is with a Deluxe and Voyager class Transformer. So you can see if you want a Gundam that kind of looks a little bit bigger, kind of more in scale with a Transformer, this might actually be a really nice option. I seriously think this guy might scale pretty well with like a Voyager Optimus Prime. I'm not exactly certain on like scaling between Transformers and Gundams, but mobile suits are bigger than Transformers. So this might be something that might work out for you if you want like a Char Zaku like genuinely going up against a Transformer. This might be a good option. And lastly, here it is compared to the only other Gundam figure in my collection that it somewhat scales with, that being the original transformable GP01 action figure released by Bandai of America back in the early 2000s. Honestly, I would say for the most part, these scale. I can see GP01 just being a little bit taller than a Zaku. I seriously think these are in scale with each other. This is the only other Gundam figure in my collection that really seems in scale with this Char Zaku. And honestly, I'm very pleasantly surprised that they're pretty much in scale. I think that's super cool, because now I feel like I actually have a figure to display this Char Zaku with. Unless I decide to go ahead and just display the Char Zaku on like a Char shelf, which is kind of my plan anyway. I think I'm going to have some extra Char Aznable related stuff that can kind of go on its own little shelf. I don't really have like a 160 scale to like directly compare it to on hand. I do have the old 160 scale Char Zaku, like the old one, not even perfect grade, like the vintage one. It definitely is taller, that's for sure. And unfortunately, it's not on hand for me to show in this video. But yeah, it's pretty cool seeing the size comparison here. I'm very happy that there's actually something in my collection that it scales pretty well with. Alrighty guys, there we go. There is my look at the oversized KO of the Origin 1144 high-grade Char Zaku 2. I think this thing is such a fun toy. It's such a fun model kit. It's not the best model kit when it comes to, like, Gundam models, because it is a bootleg. It does have some problems with the assembly. But honestly, like, I always have felt like the Origin Char, like, just the Origin Zaku mold in general, is one of the most fun, toyetic model kits Bandai's ever made. And just seeing it blown up to such a stupid size just emphasizes that opinion of mine. I would love to see this redone in green. I would love to see whoever made this make like an RX-78 too. I would absolutely adore seeing more oversized figures at this size. But thankfully, if this is just a one and done for me, it is my favorite character in my favorite mobile suit and one of my favorite model kits. This is a pretty good one and done for me. I don't need any more. I'm very happy I got this. It's very fun. It's very cool. I definitely do want to warn about the joints, some of the assemblies, the lack of instructions, the little beads with the hoses, because if that was a nightmare for you for the master grade Zaku, you're going to have a lot of fun with this one. Overall, it's a very cool, fun model kit. Definitely could be improved here and there, but it did actually make some genuine improvements to the original high grade. I genuinely do. I think the clear visor over the mono eye is better. I think the clear little visors for the scopes and the mono eye is better. I do think it made some color separation improvements with some of the leg details and the Vulcans. It did make some silly choices with like the little thrusters on the back. It definitely has some quality control issues with like you can see right down there. That's one of my biggest problems. That seam is just a little too wide for my liking. I tried my best to squish it. There seriously was a time where like my hand had an indent where I was trying to get things together. There was a point where I was needing to use, you know, those heavy, almost paperweight Scotch tape dispensers? I had to use one of those to try to press a couple pieces together. I am not even joking. This is not an easy build. But if you are an experienced Gunpla collector, or you just really want to check this out, I think it's definitely worth it. I think it was around $35-40, and I think it's a pretty fair price considering the size and the plastic. The plastic is a very good quality. I can say the plastic itself is good quality. One extra thing I forgot to add. Hopefully those who still want to purchase this are still watching this at this point, so you can know this. But this kit has a lot of undergating. That made the cutting process so much easier. There's a lot of undergating. And if you don't know what undergating is, here's a plastic part. Here's the gate. You cut it off, and there's a big, ugly nub. Undergating. Here's the plastic part. Here's the gate. Cut it off. It's underneath. You won't see it. Undergating on this kit is very prominent. It's not everywhere, but it's very prominent, and I genuinely appreciated that. I think whoever designed this is an actual Gunpla fan, and they just wanted to make a knockoff and make some money off of it. But I think they did a pretty good job overall. I think they did. Alrighty, it's been a while since I've talked about a Gundam video, or talked about Gundam on video, so let me know what you think. I think this is a really cool kit. I wanted to make this video because when I purchased this, I could not find an English review. So I wanted to make an English review to kind of give you guys a heads up and kind of let you know my experience with it. It's not super in-depth. It's not super high quality. There's so many Gunpla reviewers that make super awesome high-quality reviews. I'm not that guy. I'm more of a Transformers guy. I just like talking about a toy I like and putting it in front of the camera. Some Gunpla collectors may even be upset that I've called this a toy, but they're toys. Come on, they're toys. They're action figure model kits, and action figures are toys. I'm sorry to tell you. Alrighty, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you think again down in the comments below. Special shout out to channel members as always. Thank you all so much for the continued support. Have a great one, guys, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.